Salvador Ramos was born in Uvalde, Texas, May 16, 2004. By 2022, he was a high school dropout who worked at Wendy's. Around March that year, he moved from his mother's home to his grandmother's. Shortly after, he had an argument with his grandmother about her turning off the Wi-Fi. May 17th, he purchased a gun, and on the 18th, 370 rounds of ammunition. On the 20th, he added another rifle to his arsenal. On May 24th, Salvador got into an argument with his 66-year-old grandmother. He didn't like it, and so he shot her in the face and stole her Ford pickup truck. At 11:20 a.m., he rammed the truck outside a barricade at the Robb Elementary School. Two people came out of a funeral home to investigate the crash and ducked for their lives as he fired at them. The irony, they were almost killed coming out of a funeral home. Fortunately, neither of them were injured. Salvador then proceeded to drop a bag of ammunition, walked to the school, and then began firing at the school for a few minutes. And so, on that fateful morning, a teacher had left a door propped open. Salvador used that very door, innocently opened, welcoming students and their educators, and instead, he walked in. The police were called immediately. It took 4 minutes roughly for 3 officers to arrive. Upon arrival, Salvador opened fire on them and they fell back. After 2 were grazed by bullets, they bunkered down and hid from him. Salvador then entered a classroom and told the students and the teacher, "It is time to die." The police established a perimeter around the school, leaving Salvador alone with faculty and the children inside of the school. Outside, parents descended on the school, frantic, terrified, desperate. They begged police, screamed, "Please, go in." The police held their perimeter, and to the family's dismay, they began handcuffing them, discharging pepper spray at them. At the grief-filled families, they produced tasers, threatening mothers, fathers, siblings, and friends alike, threatening them. All the while, Salvador was still free inside, pacing, stalking, merciless in his hunt inside the elementary school. Some officers did, in fact, enter the building, and sometime later, they came out of the building with their own children in tow. They left the other kids behind. As well, they left Salvador alone inside with the students for over an hour. The incident commander, in a fit of genius, decided that this was no longer an active shooting situation. He instead believed that Salvador was now classified as a barricaded subject, and so they were in no hurry to storm the building. Instead, they waited patiently for a key, yes, a key to enter. As they waited, multiple 911 calls were made from inside the building. Imagine the horror those educators faced. Their children huddled in class while the only adult there begged for help over the phone. Students called in on their cell phones begging for help as well. Over an hour later, at 12:50 p.m., a tactical team stormed the classroom and shot Salvador dead. Salvador was disturbed. He was a loner with no lasting friendships. He tortured cats, even going so far as to live stream some of this. He once told a woman he knew that he threw dead cats into people's windows. He threw eggs at people, shot at strangers with an air gun, talked with a lisp. Being poor, combined with dressing like a weirdo, made him an easy target for mockery. Classmates used to call him school shooter in high school. He would cut his own face with a knife and then blame it on a cat who wore black eyeliner. He threatened his co-workers, saying, "Do you know who I am?" He said he wanted to be a Marine so he can kill people. Salvador had no criminal record or mental health history. However, he was clearly not well and clearly a coward. He was a coward and a devil. He was an evil being filled with rage, and he died as one. For evil to win, good men must do nothing. And the good people of Texas, the Lone Star State, home of God, country, and family, trusted their God and prayed for their officers and sided with them whenever they were called upon to. They trusted them with their very lives and the lives of their children. They begged them to intervene, beseeched their humanity, and in the urgency of the shrill screams of their own children screaming from inside Robb Elementary School, they pushed forward into their perimeter, where Uvalde's police officers pepper sprayed them, cuffed them, with gunshots being heard from within the school behind them. The officers didn't enter. They didn't enter. They made no attempt to do so, except the few officers that went to save their own children quietly. Know that they asked their commanding officers for permission to do this. They must have, and they were given the green light. 19 children aged 9 to 11 were gunned down in cold blood, as well as 2 teachers. One of the teacher's husbands, overcome with grief and sorrow, died 2 days later of a massive heart attack. How could this happen? How could the heroes become the villains? How could the officers sworn to protect allow this one 18-year-old child to kill so many people? As they stood outside, afraid, terrified, frozen, officers live in a world of us against them. They see the world as an evil place, a place where at any moment they could be killed. This imagined hostile environment ravages the human mind, leading to paranoia. This paranoia is the reason they kill so many unarmed civilians. Paranoia, guns, and no accountability are a terrible combination. Now this same dynamic that causes so much carnage from officers has the opposite effect when they are under attack. Number one priority is to protect themselves. Officers are not soldiers. Soldiers understand that they might die. They prepare themselves for this, and so it comes, they have bravery to some degree. But officers, when it comes, they retreat. Their instincts take over. The instinct to stay alive. That instinct is overwhelming. It is why they pepper sprayed those families, cuffed them, beat them as their children were being murdered. The families were telling them to go into danger, to risk their lives. Instinct pushed them to save their own, as well as the lives of their children, who are an extension of them, like a limb, and as much a part of them as themselves. There is no legal law that officers must save lives. There is no law that they must intervene to save a life. It is not on the books. They do not have a legal obligation to save those children. You would have think they would, but they do not. And their instincts and paranoid mind wouldn't allow them to do so. If you are ever in that scenario, save your children yourself. You're all that they got.